That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, my dudes, we are going to be going through and we are going to be looking at some of the running back changes I've actually made in our rankings. Now, y'all know I said I didn't want to be making rankings changes every single week, but I literally have an issue. I mean, I can't sit still. So maybe I'm doing myself a disservice here, but I am probably looking at these dynasty rankings at least 30 minutes a day, just fidgeting them around, maybe only moving a player once a day, just one spot. But I mean, if you look at the history of that document, you have seen that I am probably just like, I don't want to say a crack addict on there, but it's definitely not what I should be doing. So we're going to be looking at some of these running back rankings changes. None of them are going to be as big as what we had with wide receiver, just because we know with wide receiver, I mean, it is so close within those tiers that I could sit there and I can move 10 guys on a day-to-day basis without really thinking about it. So I've been trying to refrain myself. And yeah, running back, we've had a few changes, not that many spots, but definitely want to dive into it. And before we actually look into the running backs, guys, please go down there, drop that like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. And of course, our entire rankings list where you can see me just be that crack addict, just fidgeting them around all day, is over there on Patreon. And a big shout out to everybody joining the Patreon as of late, because I mean, the flock is growing at a rapid rate and I can't wait to show y'all the new studio when we get there. I believe we should be all set up on the 21st. I'm sorry, the 24th. I'm moving out of Austin on the 21st. So hopefully that comes soon. But anyway, let's dive into this one. And let's talk about our first running back in Travis Etienne. Okay, so a big thing that I want to be doing when we're looking at these players in terms of our dynasty rankings is I also want to be talking about where they're currently being drafted in high-stakes redraft leagues, because while we understand that dynasty, you're playing for the long haul, you're not just playing for this upcoming year, but accurate projections definitely plays so much into dynasty rankings, because you really need to combine your knowledge of player profiles as well as long-term outlooks with these players in light of what they could potentially do in 2021. Because the worst thing, the literal worst thing that I hear in dynasty is an analyst coming out, say they got Jalen Reagor wrong last year, and they're going, guys, don't tell me I got Jalen Reagor wrong. I mean, it's only 1 year in. Who knows? Maybe Jalen Reagor is better than Justin Jefferson. No, that's horrible. If that's your stance, if you are really only drafting from 3 years out and you think a player is going to start slow, well, don't draft him right now. Trade for him next offseason. I mean, if you really think that Jalen Reagor and Justin Jefferson are similar players, then why are you drafting Jalen Reagor instead of just taking Jefferson, knowing who's most likely going to produce right away, then trading for him after? Now, of course, that's a very exaggerated example, but I'm sure y'all understand my point on that. And here, Travis Etienne currently being drafted as the running back 22 in high stakes redraft leagues, being drafted right behind Miles Sanders and Josh Jacobs, and being drafted directly ahead of Javonte Williams and Myles Gaskin. Now, if you pull up our dynasty rankings over there on Patreon, you are going to see that we currently have Travis Etienne ranked as our running back 13. And now, honestly, I kind of want to move him up higher than this, but a big thing with me ranking him at 13 is I talked about this on a video where we kind of made our wide receiver moves. And I really made that debate of if I should just be doing my exact personal rankings of how I would evaluate these players in a vacuum, or if I should also be trying to combine my knowledge of where they most likely will go in your dynasty draft, so I can try to make a set of rankings that you'll walk away with the best team possible. And a big thing here is, trust me, I would love to move Travis Etienne ahead of Nick Chubb, ahead of J.K. Dobbins in our dynasty rankings. But I understand you're never going to see that ever happen in a dynasty draft. So there's no real reason for me to be ranking him ahead of those players if you can still come away with him in 90% of your leagues with us ranking him as our running back 13. Because the running backs that are directly ahead of him in our rankings are J.K. Dobbins and Nick Chubb. And the running backs that are directly behind him are Ezekiel Elliott and Derrick Henry. Now, I can pretty much guarantee you, if you're drafting Travis Etienne as the running back 13 in Dynasty, you're going to be coming away with him in so many different leagues. And with Etienne, I don't want to dive into it too much, but it's such an easy evaluation. Just going through and looking at the profile of a running back that he is, a running back that has the size where he can be utilized at the goal line, a running back that has the size where, I mean, if they wanted, they could use him as 3-down running back, but we're not necessarily wanting Travis Etienne to be a 3-down running back. I mean, you see his elite speed with the 4.45 40-yard dash. You understand that this is a running back that used to be a track star. And most importantly, I mean, he was an elite receiving running back in college. That is the number one thing that you're looking at with this Travis Etienne profile. And let's just go through and let's look at these boxes that are being checked. First round draft capital, elite receiving running back, the size to be a 3-down running back if need be, and also great speed. Who is this running back? This running back is a combination of DeAndre Swift, Alvin Kamara, and Aaron Jones. They are all the same guys. You're not expecting any one of those players to ever get 90% of the touches in their backfield. They are not Ezekiel Elliott. They are not Derrick Henry, but they are still elite assets in Dynasty and in fantasy football in general because they're getting targets out of the backfield, because they are getting usage at the goal line. Now, with Travis Etienne, the one thing that I am worried about, because trust me, I mean, I have to be a little bit scared when we have Travis Etienne in about 60% of our Dynasty leagues. I don't know what the real number is, but we have him in a lot. Is I am worried that James Robinson potentially gets used at the goal line, at least to start the season, and possibly that provides you a buy low opportunity on Travis Etienne. But based on what we have seen historically with teams that draft a first round running back, 99% of the time, that team is giving that running back goal line responsibilities. So I don't see any other reason to expect anything differently with Travis Etienne, as this is a running back that also got those goal line opportunities in college. I mean, in 2019, this is someone who averages 136 yards a game, 14 carries a game, 3 targets a game, and 1.5 touchdowns. This tells you that he's getting utilized at the goal line. And in 2020, to illustrate that he comes out and he is dominant with the amount of targets that he sees. I mean, this is someone that averages 5 targets a game. That is massive for Travis Etienne. So I think if you compare him to the other running backs that we have in this range, I mean, in Ezekiel Elliott, where is Zeke going to be next offseason? I can guarantee you, I would put so much money down on a bet that says Travis Etienne will be ranked higher than Ezekiel Elliott and Derrick Henry in pretty much any dynasty rankings that you look at next offseason. That is guaranteed. And if this is someone that can be productive right away at the same time, why would you not rank Travis Etienne ahead of Ezekiel Elliott and Derrick Henry in Dynasty? Okay, so now our next running back going to be in that same mold. It's going to be Javonte Williams here. And with Javonte Williams, the one concern is just the offensive play for the Denver Broncos, because we know that this is a team that, I mean, should have some of, if not the worst quarterback play in the entire NFL, which is 100% going to cap Javonte Williams for this upcoming season. But what you really like with Javonte Williams is he was actually the youngest running back in the draft this past year. And right now he is being drafted as the running back 23 in high stakes redraft leagues. And what that tells us is that we can expect Javonte Williams to most likely in this season, I mean, consistently finishing as a running back too. And if we combine this with the fact that Melvin Gordon, if you look at that contract, I mean, I can guarantee you that Melvin Gordon's not a Denver Bronco in 2022. So all of a sudden, if we just try to flash forward, I mean, if we just try to look at what we are going to be expecting next offseason in dynasty value, I mean, Javonte Williams is going to be, I don't want to say an elite running back, but he is going to be skyrocketing. Just imagine what kind of value you're going to be seeing with Javonte Williams, who profiles to be a 3-down guy. He got that draft capital that completes his prospect profile. And at the beginning of the offseason, I wasn't even that high on Javonte Williams. So he gets all those boxes that you look for. And on top of this, with no Melvin Gordon next year, this is going to be a player that's rising up dynasty rankings. I mean, right now we have him ranked directly ahead of both Austin Eckler and Aaron Jones, and we have him directly behind Ezekiel Elliott and Derrick Henry. But as we say this out loud, I am not joking. I think we're probably going to pull up those dynasty rankings again to possibly move Javonte Williams up a little bit further, possibly move him ahead of Derrick Henry and ahead of Ezekiel Elliott, because you'll look at both of those veteran running backs next offseason. Derrick Henry will be a 28-year-old running back with no guaranteed money on his contract, and Ezekiel Elliott will be a running back that has more touches than anyone close to him in the NFL. And that kind of is scary. I mean, I think Javonte Williams is honestly a safe bet to be ranked higher than both of those players this next offseason. So what's keeping us from ranking him there now if we know that he's also going to be productive this upcoming year? And he was incredibly efficient in 2020. I mean, he averages 2 touchdowns a game last year. He averages almost 3 targets a game, which is significant when he's playing the backfield with Michael Carter. So go to the comment section. Let me know how crazy I'd be if we decide to move up Javonte Williams before Derrick Henry and Ezekiel Elliott in Dynasty. But honestly, I think there's a decent explanation too. Okay, so now our next guy is not going to be some long-term play, but I am just going to be higher on him compared to really anybody else this upcoming year. It's going to be Kenyan Drake. And here with Kenyan Drake, yes, I know I hated him last offseason. We consistently said that he was one of the most overrated players, not only in Dynasty, but also 2020 redraft leagues. And yes, I want to kind of run a quick victory lap on that. But of course, that's not me just having to be stuck to my opinion last offseason. Because last offseason, I mean, he was in a situation where he was going in the second round of redraft leagues. He was going in like the third round of some Dynasty formats, which was ridiculous for a running back where we only had an 8-game sample of elite production and he was playing under the transition tag. That's not how you invest your Dynasty capital. But now when you have Kenyan Drake, I mean, going near the very end of Dynasty leagues, I'm going to be continuing to target him because this is a running back that right now is going as the running back 37 in high stakes redraft leagues, directly behind Damian Harris and Zack Moss, and directly ahead of AJ Dillon and James Conner. And in Dynasty, we actually have him ranked a little bit higher than this. And I know a lot of people aren't going to like this ranking given the fact that we're ranking them higher than where he's going in high stakes redraft leagues. And this is a running back that's 27 years old already. So obviously he's not someone that you're expecting him to get a bump up in value anytime soon. But if we are talking about Kenyan Drake, what a massive factor is going into this ranking is the fact that he gets $11 million guaranteed on this contract. Kenyan Drake is locked into this role that he's about to have with the Raiders for not only this year, but next year as well. And you can't really say that with many other running backs that we have around him. I mean, with a Mike Davis, who's ranked directly ahead of him, you look at that contract, Mike Davis is just a one-year rental. That's someone that's going to have no Dynasty value next offseason. And keep in mind, yes, I mean, I do have Mike Davis ranked ahead of Kenyan Drake. I have him a clear tier ahead of Kenyan Drake, but they're a little bit of a different running back build because Mike Davis, while yes, he is younger than Drake, I mean, if you look at the contract situation, I think that he's more of a win now asset and not necessarily that long-term play. And then Zack Moss directly behind him. Zack Moss, I don't think has the same type of upside. And then Damian Harris, we have directly behind him as well. So here with Kenyan Drake, I think that he's just a safe bet to have that pass catching role on the Raiders this season and next season as well. And if anything ever happened to Josh Jacobs, all of a sudden Kenyan Drake gets vaulted up to be a 3-down running back. We have seen him be an elite running back at the end of 2019, albeit in a small sample, which is why you don't go out of your way to draft him in the third round of a Dynasty startup like people were doing last offseason. And when we were screaming that that was a horrible thing to do. But now you're getting him in round 12, round 13, sometimes round 14 of these Dynasty leagues. That's going to be a great price to pay, in my opinion. Okay, so now our next guy, I don't want to bring him up. It's going to honestly be kind of embarrassing. But Michael Carter. Okay, so Michael Carter here, a big thing with where we are ranking him is we were just way too low on him. I mean, if you're looking at our Dynasty rankings right now, you're still very rarely going to be drafting Michael Carter in Dynasty startups. We're still lower than consensus on Carter. But a big thing is I just hate the prospect profile that we have from Michael Carter. I mean, you go through and you look at this as a running back that was, yes, he meets the minimum threshold that we have for his speed based on our historical comps in that Dynasty rookie draft guide. But a big thing is he is very small. He's 5'8", 201 pounds. So when you have a running back that is that small, you need that running back to not just pass the minimum threshold. You need to see them be highly athletic. And at the same time, this is someone that gets drafted in the 4th round, which historically is a horrendous bet for these running backs. So you see multiple red flags on this profile already. Now, I will say that he is a great receiving running back, and we have to give him credit where credit is due. Michael Carter, a great receiving running back, which is the main reason why we're actually moving him up in these rankings. But another big thing is if you look at where Michael Carter is going right now in high stakes redraft formats, he is going right behind Trey Sermon. He is the running back 30 in redraft leagues, and he's going ahead of Melvin Gordon, Raheem Mostert, Ronald Jones. And I simply couldn't look at myself in the eyes and say, Mason, it's a good idea to rank someone lower in Dynasty that's a rookie than where they're going their rookie season in redraft formats. I mean, with this same kind of theory, you're putting Najee Harris as your running back 5 in Dynasty. I mean, you're being a massive hypocrite right here by having Michael Carter so low. So yeah, we move Michael Carter up. We move him to running back 28. We have him one spot behind James Robinson. We have him directly ahead of Chase Edmonds, A.J. Dillon, and Mike Davis. But I mean, my God, A.J. Dillon, a player with way more upside, a player that I like the prospect profile a lot more of. But with Michael Carter, I think that very simple intuition kind of tells you that while the prospect profile isn't great, you kind of have to be taking him where you get that opportunity. Okay, so Zack Moss is going to be our last running back we were talking about. Another guy that I hated coming into the NFL draft last year. You looked at the prospect profile, someone that, yeah, had a massive BMI, someone that can easily be a goal line running back. But the problem is he ran a 4.65 40-yard dash, and simply you're not finding any upside in a running back like that historically. Now, a big thing is with Zack Moss, Josh Allen is going to vulture those goal line touchdowns, which is another reason why we are lower on him compared to consensus last season. But right now with Zack Moss, I mean, we can't deny the fact that he's, I don't want to say a decent value in Dynasty because that's not what I'm saying here at all. But I think that he is a fairly priced player and we were just too low on him. We had him behind Damian Harris, Ronald Jones, and Leonard Fournette. And with Zack Moss, he's another one of these guys that was drafted in the 3rd round that's attached to his rookie contract for the next 3 years, which we can't ignore. I mean, I can't be a hypocrite. We talk about how important it is that Kenyan Drake has a locked-in role to his offense next offseason. It's the same thing here with Zack Moss. So Moss, while he's being drafted as the running back 36 in high-stakes redraft leagues, we're going to have him as the running back 33. So we're still going to be lower than consensus on Zack Moss. And if you're using our rankings, it's not like you're going to be coming away with him that often at all. I mean, most likely you're not drafting him really at all if you're looking at our rankings. But we were definitely too low on him to begin with. So we are going to be having to slightly move him up. But thank you, my guys, for checking out this video. And of course, the rest of those rankings are over there on Patreon. And if y'all have any questions, if you think that I said something that was stupid, go to the comment section, let me know. And yeah, that's all I got for y'all. Subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow. We've gotten a ton of new members joining the flock. Thank you, Grind for Gold, Devin, Bungified, Brian, Brody, Victor, Chris, Grant, Trevor, and David. Thank you, my dudes.